everyone. Peekaboo, Brian. It's real and raw, and I'm Lynn Serrano, and you are?
I'm Brian, the scary guy. Well, hopefully not.
Oh, you're my goofy guy on Monday. Yay!
That's what I thought of in the moment. You know?
And that's okay. I was trying to erase my board, and it took me 20 seconds to erase it on Friday.
Yeah. Well, we have a low preparation scale on this show. So
yeah, we do. We just show up and hope for the best.
It's kind of like, oh, you want me to rehearse and research? What?
No.
We don't get paid for this show. We don't do that here.
No, of course not. Of course not. I'm going to wait for some more audience people to let them know what's going on this next week. But yeah, so how was your weekend?
It's busy.
Busy?
Yep.
Life just gets busier all the time. I kind of started pre-prepping for my trip next week. Wait a second. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Yeah, oh shit, next week, a week from tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's just finally here. Oh, and by the way, I've lost today, 11 weeks, 25 new pounds that I haven't seen in 2 years.
Good for you.
So, I mean, it's actually more weight loss, but I don't like to fluff up this stuff. I like to be we all lose 5 or 10 pounds constantly, and that's oh, we lost 50 pounds. Well, shit, you still look the same. So I don't buy into that. So I'm just these are new pounds. And granted, I do check what it was originally, from a year ago to now and say, oh, wow, I actually lost X number of pounds. But I like going and being down to earth as far as the original pounds I haven't been this in a while. So, So yeah, I am super excited about our topic that we have for this week. And it's also, I'm shouting out the fact that Ray Higdon, he loved our topic for today. So thank you, Ray, for acknowledging that. I really appreciate that. And we have Scott Ricard here. Hi, Scott.
Oh, man.
Welcome. We appreciate you being here. So I really loved the fact that we're talking about how to create possibilities, and this being day one, why it's important and how to get out of your own way. It's really cool. With the holidays coming up, we're going to have some rewinds or replays or what's going on. And I think we're going to have that even on Tuesday, Brian, because I'm going to be out on the road. And from Montana to get to Sioux Falls, I mean, we could just possibly pop up, but I don't know where I'm going to be, where this coverage might not be very good. So I'm not taking any.
Stay tuned for over the next week or two until we get established with holidays and stuff like that.
Yeah. And hi, Larry, I get to see you next week.
That's cool.
That's super cool. So yeah, with the holidays and I'm not going to be traveling on Friday and Saturdays because everybody else normally is driving. So, and I'll be at Tammy's house for a couple of days. It'll be an interesting adventure and stuff. So that's how we flow. We just flow as we go. And that's part of creating possibilities is when you have an open mind. It's amazing when you allow things to just happen.
Right. Yeah, possibilities or something. I mean, it could be synonymous with opportunities or whatever, but a possibility, and it's that's why we wanted to start and kind of change it up a little bit with establishing the core of what a possibility is. Some people may not think like this, and that's perfectly okay, but I think it's a lot more neutral and better for yourself in terms of living your life out of possibility and what you can do to frame it in such a way where it's wow, by just saying it's a possibility already frames it that you can do it or that it's available. With some other things, it may not be framed in such a way that really makes it enlightening or possible to take on, so possibilities are, what you make of them, if there isn't any. And usually a possibility is defined by the use of language. Is the language neutral? Is it positive? Is the cadence positive or is it negative? Where's that person's mind? Right? Because their mind is going to determine what something looks like.
Yeah,
it's
I was just
married together.
I was just looking up at the possibility in the meaning. It says a thing that may happen or to be the case. And so, possibilities, like you said, business, personal, anything and everything is possible.
Right.
But the biggest problem we have is our false belief system, our limiting belief system, the things that we allow ourselves to think that they're true facts when everything is just an excuse.
Right.
And options of opportunities. Absolutely.
Yep. And like, let's not get lost in the semantics, right?
Right.
Like when somebody says be happier, okay. Well, that's conceptual to some people that don't know what it is to be happy.
Right.
I mean, heck, getting up out of bed, depending on their circumstances, might be happy. You know, so like, let's not get lost in, make this conceptual to people, and for everybody to opportunity. It's like, they might not know what an opportunity is, or even limit it or dilute what an opportunity truly is, know? So absolutely, Larry, it's a choice. 100%.
Yeah.
That is absolutely true. And I think that it starts with how you think about it. Right. When you can get something to that anything's available, or like when somebody says, like in my industry, not to oust any catering managers or whatever, but like whenever I run across a venue manager or another professional that says, well, here's what we always do, quote unquote.
Right.
That tells me a lot about what we might be able to get away with, but also though, like, is this your choice or is this the customer's choice? As long as they're not going to ruin your venue, go against their terms of agreement, and, mount anything to the walls or do any kind of damage. Right. And so I think that just by somebody's language, it can tell you if you're breathing, be happy. Yeah. I mean, it's that simple, but not everybody's wired that way, Larry, unfortunately.
No. And I mean, and having, clinical depression, blah, 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 and fighting all that stuff, you really got to work a little bit harder, but it is possible. I mean, it's possible because I've had to do it, and I do it constantly. And I don't talk about mental illness or my challenges, because when I'm spending time talking about that, I'm not talking about the possibilities. I'm just staying stuck in that situation. So that's why I don't talk about that often. But I want to say that I know it's not easy because I've been there, done that. And I wrote one book about that. And so, it truly is when you realize that we spend so much time in our heads with false believing, instead of creating, instead of looking at possibilities, we're really wasting our time in the wrong energy, of creating and just being and seeing what happens, and I've been challenging myself with that lately. I mean, like, I'm getting my mindset straight of, the ventures I'm taking, and literally I'm going back east in a different direction. Never been in this area. So I love that. And that's exciting, but it's also very, very, it could be it could be triggers, but I'm not allowing those triggers to ruin what I know is going to be a great experience. So,
but possibilities, it's, whatever you want to say. I mean, depending on what your background is, but they're the difference between what doesn't get done and what does get done.
Absolutely.
Where the analysis paralysis meets the actual action, right? Because a possibility is not tainted. A possibility is not judged. There is no there's no limitations behind a possibility. You just do it, right? Yeah. But it starts with you. In my opinion, it starts with you actually giving up that there's any right or wrong, and you create, right? You write something down, you have a list of goals you want to do, whatever that is, and how the difference between, like, when you're like, if you're a writer, you can't, you're always in a mental haze and you can't write, versus when you just write and write and write, and there's no awareness that you're limiting yourself. That doesn't make sense, or that's got commas or whatever. Possibilities, in my opinion, don't have judgments, right? You just put something out in the world, and then eventually you hone it, you get better at it, but you're getting it on paper, you're getting it on some medium that you can ultimately bring it to fruition, right? I mean, a possibility, you're shining a light on something that's not examined. And that's why it's so coveted, because the best ideas are ones that, number one, an idea has to be manifested. It has to be created. Number two is that if you don't take action on it, it's as if it doesn't exist anyway. So possibilities don't exist without you taking action. And we'll be talking about that later this week. You know, a possibility, just like an opportunity doesn't exist, is that you can have it in your head, but if it sits on a piece of paper and you don't do it, I mean, you could have the instructions about how to do it, but the only thing that's going to run across the finish line is to actually, you know, get it done, you know, so.
And so what if you take and you're building possibilities and it doesn't work out the way it was supposed to? That's okay. You learn from it and you modify and you go on. So you're never going to know what's possible until you start,
Well,
you know.
And the thing with possibilities is that they don't have to look a certain way. You don't even know what they're going to look like, but that's the beauty in it. That's the fun in it, where you get to have fun creating something where you might know what you want it to look like, but I'd be willing to say it's more about how you feel about what it is, that you just did it. You know, you completed it. And will it take, you know, revisions and time in between? Sure, it will be. But if it's something you're passionate about, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter at all, you know, but it's something that you do for yourself, you know. Possibilities. It's something that you see the importance in it. You know, you get some juice out of it, that you get to see the roadmap of your future. You get to see your projects as we're moving into summer. Like, here are all the things I want to accomplish this summer, right? It could be travel. It could not be. It could be house projects. It could be whatever. But you're not judging if you can do it. That's implied. But it's you know, it's kind of like an engineer or a chemist or an architect. They have no idea possibly how to create some of these outcomes, but they figure it out. They talk with other people. They don't do it alone, you know? And as we'll talk about later in this week, they enroll others in that, right? Because very few things in life are done alone, you know, that are going to come to fruition, or that's going to have real fulfilling value in the world. You know, obviously if it's your project, it's something that you want to do, but it's likely not going to happen without others cheering you on or supporting you.
Possibilities are endless. And when you realize that if things aren't working for you right now, you can change them in a heartbeat. You have to create. You need to find solutions. You need to find a new way of doing things. It's very, very exciting to.
I think that
Hi,
even
Kelly.
that's. Hey, Kelly, I think that even that statement's a little bit conceptual, right? Because just do this that doesn't tell anybody how. It's kind of like a roadmap, right? To me, that's really conceptual. It's like, be happy. Okay. How do I do that? Right. And so one of the greatest ways to do this is number one, you have to feel like you're in a safe place. Some people have a reading chair. Somebody have a 3 or 4 season, you know, deck, you know. Yeah, we're glad you're here as well. But whatever that is, it's like it's your coveted place. And the more that you realize that whatever time of day that you just give to yourself, like we talked several episodes ago about the power of silence, right? In my opinion, that's where you create. That's where you give yourself the space. Like, there's plenty of times when I'm writing something down and I'm like, ooh, that's a great article for another this or another that, right? And you just keep building to it, but you always have a reference point of where to go, right? And I don't think possibilities are something that come from when you're stressed out, you don't have any more to give, you have a lack of sleep, you're pushed to the max. Possibilities don't come, brother. Thank you, Kelly. I just have a lot to say about this topic, is because it's one of the few safe havens that we have as people. You know, like how we think, there are very few things in life that we actually have a choice over: our attitude, our actions, our thoughts. And then there's one more, but I can't remember it.
Well, you know what it is like you start talking to somebody and all they do is sit there and talk about, this isn't going right and this isn't going right and you're like, okay, so let's talk about how we can make things right, you know?
No, either that or what is going right.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously when it comes to that context, usually the basics are unexamined. They're breathing. They woke up today, right? They have a roof over their head. Those kinds of basic things are just overlooked, right? Mm-hmm. Because in their eyes, they're kind of implied. Well, not in the true realm of life, right? Like if we look at things that we're grateful for, well, those should be basics,
right?
But, there might be a deeper understanding why they don't look at those, because they might not have had anything that injured their life, or they've never been endangered, you know? So, and you have to respect them that they didn't witness it that way, but since they don't have that point of view to look from, or that lens to look at it from, they have to look at it differently.
They take it for granted is what happens. They take for granted where they're at. And, some people have what other people deem to be the greatest life possible, but they don't know, not knowing the 360 of someone's life. You cannot judge what you just don't know.
Well, and from their, from their point of view, that they don't look at it the way that we look at it.
Right.
And the only point of view that people have is their own.
Right.
It's like the way that they look at life may be different than us, and that's not the friction, because we don't want to create friction with people, but that is the opportunity or the obstacle. Right. Because from their point of view, they've never witnessed going through a near-death experience or getting drugged behind a vehicle like yourself, right? They don't come from that place, but you can't alienate them or make them feel a certain way just because they haven't had those life experiences.
Right.
So how can you keep it favorable, but also they'll look at it from just the basic things, and you might have to point them, but eventually you want them to share, you want them to come up with their own understanding. What is one thing you're grateful for right now? I see you got a nice car outside. Are you grateful for that car? Okay, there we go.
And that's just it. Everyone that's living, especially by the time you're 25, you cannot say you haven't had something in your life you can compare that was good or bad. And It takes that whatever scale that is for them. Oh, I had to move out of my parents' house at 25. Okay, that's probably bad because you lived there for 25 years. That can be a degree of level of experience that they can have. It's just like the pain level. Your threshold pain might be different than I. So, they say pain level 1 to 10, and you got the whole, 10 or 11. Shoot, your 7 might be my 10 having labor, delivered my children. It's just whatever level they're at. And it's just a comparison, but everyone can compare something in their life that was very devastating or difficult compared to something that was very nice. Right. We all are blessed with different experiences so that we have that scale to grade on. So
to answer, let's just hear for the next couple of minutes, like how to create possibilities. So we kind of answer some of the questions, and then we'll finish up with, getting out of your own way. Okay. So how to create possibilities. I think you got to have silence. Whatever that space is. Some people are morning people, some people are night people, but if you don't give yourself time where you actually put it on the calendar, it's never going to show up. Never going to show up. It's going to be ransacked by somebody else's business, other people's drama, whatever. But it's like that place, whatever it is, where you're grounded, right? You know what you need to do every day, right? That's where the creative part, because you get a reward when you do that, because all the other times throughout the day where you're dealing with other people's stuff, you actually get to put yourself first, right? Now, for me, first thing in the morning, that's when I work best, because I'm a morning person, right? So the power of silence, good night's sleep is essential, right? Because when you start sacrificing all these things, no wonder why the world looks a lot different, because you're not relying on the basics. If you have no fuel in your tank, you're not going to get the benefits of it. If you put crappy oil in your vehicle, well, the performance is going to go down, right? Same thing for us. So it starts with ourselves. Okay. Number 2 is you create your schedule, right? I highly recommend, if you don't journal, or if you don't have like a binder or some kind of notebook to just jot down your thoughts or things you want to do, right? But the one thing possibilities doesn't have is it doesn't judge whether or not you can do it, or, oh, I'll never be able to do that. Possibilities don't do that. You just write them down, right? And then you gravitate towards the ones you want to tackle first, because they really connect to your heart and soul, so your sleep, routine, power of silence. So you find a place where you can just write and just kind of be one within yourself, mindfulness, perhaps you might say. And I would have to say also, though, your diet, eggs, protein, whatever works for you, but you can't, that's another of the fuel part. If you don't feel yourself, don't expect the outcome to be great. So whatever goes in goes out, right? So those are just a few things, but it's like I'm a huge person where I got to have some time alone. Now, I love being around people. I love it. But at the same time, it's like even the most successful people that ever graced our planet, even if they would hop up on stages giving keynotes, when you talk to them, or if you catch a interview with, some of the best, they are introverts at heart. And you wouldn't believe that because they're on stages and doing all that, but they need to be in touch with themselves. And that only comes with them surrounding themselves with just their time, just like when there's non-negotiable time for their kids or for their spouse or, their partner, right? It's non-negotiable because if you don't plan for it, it's not going to be there. Yeah. And I think in the way our society works now, and I've learned this in business, but this was before you could schedule people's time online and you could order pizza with your iPhone or with your device. That was before I got into business, right? Or excuse me, this was after I got into business. So when you're being available at all times in the business world may be okay, but if you don't create the space where you step away from all that, you're not only are you diluting the value you have, but also the difference you make for others if you're always available.
Absolutely. I actually went to a website and it's got the 50 ways of the world, 50 ways to open your world to new possibilities. And there's some good stuff here, like challenge your belief about what you can do and what you can't do. Yep. Challenge your ideas about how things should work. Have a vision session. Write down a journal, like you said, sketch and explore and see what excites you the most. Look at opportunities in a tough situation. Avoid the victim mentality and opt instead into ready and new beginning attitude. Remove something from your life that doesn't serve you. Commit to something you've always said you'll do, but you haven't even started. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Possibly put that link in the chat so everybody.
I will do that. Okay. I will do that right now. And then it's really good stuff. Turn your focus on something you don't want, something you do want. Replace negative thoughts with positive ones. Identify the blocks that keep you from breaking a bad habit. Forgive someone if you've been holding a grudge. There's just tons, and I'll put this link in there. But it really is. I don't know if I can do it this way. Let me try this way. I don't know if that'll work. Oh, that went to YouTube or something.
Well,
I think I got it in there, and then I just did that too. So it's in the link. Yep. But yeah, there's a lot of suggestions in there, and it's really, really, it's a good thing. But
in a lot of those examples, though, is that you keep it moving, no matter your circumstance. You keep moving forward, right?
Right.
Because as Mel Robbins said in one of her, I think it was in her TED Talk or some of the other ones, she's the author of the 5-second rule. Is that no matter what you're up to in life, you're not going to want to do it.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to do the things that you need to do. You want the reward, but you don't want to do the work to get the reward.
But when you do, it's so rewarding. When you do, it is just so rewarding.
But also though, when you get the reward of the fulfillment that you completed something, you want to keep that ball rolling. But when you stop or you bask in that celebration or that reward too much, then you stop versus keeping that compounding effect going on, right?
Yeah, I went ahead and put this: when you know better, take ownership, be thankful that you can now and do better. Knowledge about who you are and changing what you don't like is an incredible place to be. And that's definitely part of the possibilities. The possibilities of saying, well, this is how I am. I'm just an asshole. Well, you don't have to be an asshole. If you don't want to be an asshole, you can change that at any time you acknowledge it. So,
right.
Hi, Angel.
Angel's here. I always say, even if you fall flat on your face, you are still moving forward. Yep.
Absolutely. Yep. So, it's just a great thing to say that you don't know until you try. That's, do or die,
So what do you think are a few things that come out, just a couple quick-witted things that come out to create possibilities in your life?
Well, you touched a lot of things, but definitely thinking of those things outside the box, those things that when you did say you can't do them, you say, no, you're going to do them. Like I said, writing a freaking book is a great example for me. I mean, just the possibilities of saying, and then realizing, shit, that wasn't so bad, or this or that, or learning from it. I mean, just take actions. Like if you want to be an artist, you're not an artist right away. You have to practice. You have to fail. Right. Anything is possible if you allow when those whispers and thoughts come to mind. That's your freaking your inner self saying, get your ass going. This is what I want you to do. Yep. And when you realize all these damn excuses you give yourself, and that's just a waste of time, you guys. It's just a waste of energy. just go with these things. I mean, look at all the people that have done amazing things, right? They always like, so how'd you do this? Or why'd you do it? Well, I kept thinking about it. I might as well do it. Like there's all these great stories behind anything that's created, you know, and that's what I love is the behind the scenes about how things are created. And I think that we're missing the history. Like even when I was doing pleasure parties, I'd always loved asking couples, how'd you meet? How'd you get together? Because that is where it's at. It's the inception of creating something and just knowing that it can be something that you didn't even expect. It's just fantastic. Right. I mean, yeah.
One of the things that comes to mind about the possibilities is that you don't tell yourself you can't do it, right?
That's
you don't
your
tell
beliefs.
yourself you can't do it.
Yeah,
but it's also, but you don't know how it's going to look, but you write it down anyway. You go against yourself, you know? And I think too, is that depending, every possibility is a little bit different. Some of them are long-term, some of them are short-term, but just telling yourself, and this is something that my therapist said to me, just say, yes, I'm going to get started on that. Tell yourself something like that, where it's like, you put a foot in the water before you dive in, right? Before you jump in. So whatever test and this might be crazy, but a lot of the possibilities that I've created are ones that were small. Like, here's this little project that might take me a couple hours, but I resist it. But then the bigger ones get done because there's a gradual thing you need to do to complete them. So if one of the things you could tell yourself is like, just get started, or I'm going to start that today, right? You have a conversation with yourself to say, hey, I'm gonna start that today, right? Or whatever you may say to yourself, but just to get you from the daily grind and expecting that, oh, how come I'm not done with that project? Well, you haven't did anything different to make that happen.
Brian, it comes down to self-confidence. And if you don't have it, work on that. Because when you work on self-confidence and you see other people have the self-confidence, if you have to borrow the fact that, wow, they had the confidence to go out and dance and, in shorts or whatever, take that, muster that and say, what can I do to go outside that? Because no matter what, when you see somebody going out of their comfort zone, you have mad respect for them because you're like, I didn't have the balls to do that. And they did. And you can admire that, but you can also realize they survived. They survived. And when you realize other people survived something that you're afraid to do, it really allows you to say, shit, if somebody did the 4 miles, I can do the 4 miles. It's the same analogy, same concept. And really self-confidence comes when you realize, don't worry about anybody else, what they're thinking or saying, but what do you really want to do that you've stopped yourself from doing? And then all the possibilities are there when you realize you go through the little eye of the needle and you realize, shit, I allowed that to. I had my 2 daughters would sing when they were younger. And this is a funny story. My older daughter, Kelly, would sing and had no problem start singing. But Kimberly, when I wanted Kimberly to sing, she wouldn't sing. But if Kelly started, Kimberly would sing. And the funny thing is now is Kimberly became my amazing singer, and she sings beautifully. She sings like an angel. And it's just so funny. Once upon a time, she just couldn't do that out loud. And now she does. So, hey, there's Scott.
Hey, there he is.
Yeah. Thanks for being here, Scott. So
the thing that speaks in anybody that is creating possibilities is that they whatever demons they have within them, they overcome them, right? And the more that you do it, you get a dopamine hit. You get excitement by doing it, and then you want to keep that rolling to the point where it's like anytime karaoke goes on, you don't even think about hopping up on stage, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like riding a bike or learning how to ride a bike. You got training wheels, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I think I'm ready for no training wheels. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, you might fall down, you get back up, you get back on. And then a few weeks later, you're doing no hands. Right. And then you go up to a bigger bike, then you go on more adventurous turf or terrain. Right. So it's the same thing, but those that create possibilities, they have a roadmap for their life. Yeah. They have a place to be, and they're one within themselves as far as, it doesn't have to make any sense to anybody else. Their possibilities are not up to anybody else to define for them. They do it for themselves.
Well, Scott is one of them. He made possibilities for addictions. I mean, he conquered his addictions, and 3 years ago he started a company and he's helping a lot of people. And that takes a special kind of someone to do that. And I admire that. And he made the possibilities, and every day he makes the possibilities possible for other people.
Right.
And that's what we're here to do, is to help one another be the best we can be. We're all a piece of the fabric, of our life. And it's just amazing when we get out of, well, we're going to get into get out of our own way, correct?
Yeah.
So.
But when we look at one of the phrases I like most from some of my training is, we all don't know what we don't know, right?
Yeah.
Is that there's 3 different types of conscious, 2 different types of conscious, and then one that we're not even aware of. It's what we know that we know. It's what we know that we don't know. And then it's what we don't know that we don't know, right? Those are 3 different types of, understanding or transformation. Now, 2 of them we're aware of, right? We know how to tie our own shoes. We know that we know that. I know that I don't know how to do brain surgery, right? But possibilities exist, in my opinion. Possibilities exist in what we don't know that we don't know. Because if we were able to see it, if our subconscious or our conscious brains were able to identify, it would be on a radar, right? Versus like, if you have ideas at all times throughout the day, well, you don't know what you don't know, but something brought that into your visual, right? Something brought that into your subconscious, and then it became conscious, right? Because you were able to declare it, you were able to do something with it more than it's just like, ooh, I haven't brought it full circle yet, but it's going to marinate for a little while longer. And go ahead.
That's where your intuition comes in.
Yep.
And I'll give you a quick intuition story. My daughter went to pick me up. I dropped off my vehicle and she picks me up, and we're driving to my house and we hear this thump really bad. And then we start assuming that it's like her hub and all this stuff. And we went out to breakfast, and then we made it to my house. And I just decided, and the car's hot, are driven, and it's in my driveway. And I decided, something told me to just go touch the caliper. I touched that caliper, and sure enough, it had disconnected. There was a bolt. The bolt came off. But what made me touch that, and it was cool and whatever, but like something about me knew what was wrong with it. I went to it and I touched it, and I go, it's the bolt. Like, I still get in awe when this shit happens. I'm like, wow, okay, that's not the hub. This is what it is. And like I said, I'm just always in awe when I don't know how I know the things I do. It just works out. And so I'm always at the front seat looking at stuff and going, this is just so cool, because I don't know why I get surprised all the time. But so I just go with the flow. I just listen to my intuition. Intuition may not always seem right, or you have the vision, but you don't know where it's coming from. Correct. So I just love when it happens. And I still sit there like I'm a spectator going, that's so freaking cool. Like, what made me touch this and know that was what was wrong is beyond me.
So let's move into why we think possibilities are important. Why this is important. Why are creating possibilities important?
Because you don't grow unless you can't keep doing the same thing and expecting the same thing, but you can't do it the same thing and not grow and not expand and not get out of your comfort zone. The possibilities need to be there in order to enhance your life, to have your life move forward. And it's boring if you don't make possibilities happen. I mean, it's such a mundane thing if you're not there trying to create and be.
Speaking of boring, I remember living. There he is. Yeah. Oh, heck yeah. She's actually taking the title now, Charles. Yeah, she's blowing the roof off of this joint. And I remember living in Illinois, and I was out with my ex, and we were at this place, and we were waiting in line, and my ADD kicks in, and I need to talk to people, right? It's kind of like they let him out, and we're waiting in line, and I just started talking to these people. And I'm a firm believer, just like one of my mentors have said, is that the smaller the community, people are more trusting, right? Tracy's with us.
Hi, Tracy.
But the larger the community, or the larger the suburban area, the less trusting people are, right? Well, I'm like, we're in line for a little bit, and I'm like, well, I'm going to start talking to people, right? And so I just started talking to everybody around me. And my ex is like, do you know those people? How do you know them? I'm like, I just started talking to them. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm not going to know them unless I talk to them.
Heck yeah. I mean, that statement right there, that statement right there confuses the heck out of me when it comes to interacting with prospective customers, right? It's like, if we don't interact,
yeah, nothing's gonna happen.
no. And it's like, you're going to trust these people on the biggest day of your life, but you're not going to interact with them. Well, I'm sorry. So, and I don't like to use these analogies or whatever, but like, let's envision, and I don't like this in terms of a business model, but like, would you ever go out on a second date with somebody that you didn't like on your first
date? Yeah.
Well, then would you ever reserve somebody that you don't like, or they don't like you? No. You know what I mean? So you're leaving it up to technology and whatever to define. And then on wedding day, let's say that doesn't work out and you wonder why. Well, I can tell you that in the freaking beginning, that if you don't like the person and and they're not engaging, you don't want to engage with them, it's not going to be a very pleasant experience working with them throughout months leading up to your day, you know? So, yeah. When it comes to why is this important? I mean, why would you not? I mean, if somebody can't see truly who you are, wow, are you being a disservice to yourself?
Yeah. Energy don't flow where it don't go. Yeah. So I love that.
When these possibilities come in, it's just like, man, when I'm feeling it, when there are no limitations in my brain and everything is flowing, it's like, man, you can take projects or your to-do lists. And I mean, even everybody that's watching this, look for yourself. When you're just in the zone and you're in a state of flow, which is very, very important to possibility, right? Is that everything doesn't take very long. You're not disempowered. It's like, holy crap. I got more done in 2 hours than I did in 3 days.
That's your zone of genius.
Right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so, but it all starts with all of the foundational elements. Great sleep, having a place to marinate your thoughts and to write them down, perhaps, right? You have to focus on you for this thing to work. You might be married and have a partner and have children, but there are things in life that you want to do as well. And would you rather do them out of spite, or would you rather do them out of encouragement and liking, that you're passionate about that?
Right.
So these are important for your health as much as they are to get stuff done in your life, But I also think that there's a certain part of it where you test your potential as a human being. It's like, where can my brain go? What can I do? How good can I be for everybody else? And the only person that knows the answer is you, by how you're feeling about it, but you have to be honest with yourself. If you feel like you didn't play full out for that customer on that vacation or whatever, okay, well, man up and, acknowledge it and move on.
Yeah. I'm just remembering Angel when she was in the doing she's a broker for loans and whatnot. For refinancing or getting people approved. I mean, she made possibilities. She was able to do things what conventional banks couldn't do for people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's just talk about creating possibilities. And I mean, it really takes your passion and your desire to help other people and to find solutions that do create so many great possibilities and opportunities that we have here in this world. And that just didn't happen by somebody thinking the thought and not following through with making these things possible. So the possibilities, if we don't take it by the horn, I mean, where do we grow as a nation? Where do we grow as people if we don't take and put all the purpose? I mean, we all come here with a purpose. Right. And if you leave without serving that purpose, what a disservice to yourself and to others and to the legacy you leave behind.
Well, let's look at it from a second about weddings. Like I've said this for many years from a psychological perspective, but let's say, now that the world is opening up a little bit, but you get an invitation in the mail to attend a wedding, right? The moment that you get that invitation in the mail, your brain is going crazy in terms of what it may look like. Are we available? Are we not? Where are we going to stay? Am I really close to these people? All sorts of things are going on in your head. But then when it comes to, if you accept the invitation to show up and go, what is already there for you? Already always listening and thinking that you don't need, that your brain is doing automatically, right? And that's where the possibilities come in to disrupt. Like if you see a moment at a wedding you've never seen before, or maybe you've seen it before, but you've seen it in a different way or a better way, right? you're looking at it that it's like, wow, I didn't know it could be done that way. I didn't know that I could feel this much, you know? So those are types of things when people look at it, like in the box thinking versus out of the box thinking, right? It's like, we don't know what we don't know, but in the box thinking would be like, okay, if I can just put my brain on autopilot, there are no surprises. Everything looks the same, but out of the box thinking is a journey, right? You know, you have to be willing to give up the risk and to go to new territory that you might have never been before in your brain, let alone in your actions. But you're willing to go there, and then that's the difference. If you're willing to take a risk with your thoughts and what you can do, don't be surprised if not only you surprise yourself, but by what you can do, because you're willing to go there. And there's a lot of people that don't want to go there. They want to have a calculated risk, which I've said in the past. I don't believe in calculated risks. You either take a risk or you don't. But also, though, if you think you're not taking a risk, you're still taking a risk.
Yeah. Well, you know, and that's just it. Sometimes people go because that they're going to have that. Oh, I love eating over there. Let's go because of that. Let's go because their wedding will be different. Or no, let's go because it's going to be boring. I mean, just there is a lot of things to think about when you're thinking of going to a wedding. And if you've gone to a lot of sucky weddings, you're like, shit, I don't want to put myself
but also though, was it how I went into the wedding that I like these people, I didn't like these people, you know, there was drama. I mean, they're you know, how we view it is how it's going to show up.
Exactly.
Right? Now, how much of it is from the past being brought back versus like, okay, this is a blank slate. I'm going to look at this wedding like I've never been to a wedding, like a beginner's mind, right? Like how a kid would sit there and paint themselves because they don't have the awareness of self-judgments in the programming that our world has imposed upon us, right? So if you envision going to a wedding and it's like, ooh, I wonder what this is going to look like. This couple's into this, and this, right? But what I'm getting at is that, like, when you go to a wedding, it's like they do this, then they do this, then they do this, then they do this. And it's like, okay, there's no wedding book on the planet that ever said that you have to do those in that order, regardless of where you are in the world, right? I know some cultures are more oriented than others, but even the culture, you can set that aside a little bit because maybe that family does a little bit different, or maybe in their region or where they were from, they don't do that, but they do this other thing. You know, so what I'm getting at is that by having it be different and by having it be like getting rid of the rules and the self-imposed things that it can be any which way you want it to be.
Brian, hurry up and get that damn book out because it's going to be awesome.
There is one quote that and God bless him, he's in heaven right now. But he was an inventor himself. I mean, you want to talk about a guy that had the whole tech community against him, and that was Steve Jobs along with Wozniak. But it's like when the iPhone first came out, right? BlackBerry and Nokia were like, what's this, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, where are the other two companies right now? Now, there was a quote that'll forever I'll be reminded of, is people don't know what they want until you show it to them.
I love that.
You know, but
it's true.
But imagine Steve Jobs and Wozniak in some plant or some factory, or not in his house because it was after his parents' house. Imagine them being like, no, there's already too many phones out in the marketplace. We don't need to. We don't need to create one of those. It's already a congested marketplace. Let's move on to something else.
Yeah.
You know, possibilities are not like, well, I don't know how this is going to turn out. No, you do it anyway.
Yeah. And when people see the passion that somebody has when they have an idea, that's what it took. It took their passion to say, hey, this is really viable. Pay attention and look at what we're doing. It takes that to make things in fruition. You know, you need to believe in what you have and what your purpose is with it.
And I think go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think I just wrote it down for our improv show, is you have to, I think possibilities correlate to thinking in a new way. Mm-hmm. You know, is that you have an idea, you may not know how to get to it, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Now absolutely. That it's on your radar, you're going to be like, ooh, you know, and that's exactly like what a lot of the major, like Apple, right? And I'm a big Apple person, but it's like, they're not the first to market and a lot of people get upset. Well, Apple's seeing if there's even a need.
Yeah. Well,
You
that's
know?
how Grant Cardone did it too. I mean,
Yep.
like you said, you've
Yep.
got to think big. You've got to think of everything is possible. I mean, Henry Ford, hello.
Yep.
He's like, I want this motor to be whatever, and this and that. And he's like, until you guys figure it out, but he knew that was possible. He tried to get somebody that could do the work or could see his vision.
Mm-hmm.
And, if they couldn't see his vision, then he didn't want them there.
Well, if his quote is, if you think it's possible, or if you think it's not, you're right.
You're always right. Yep,
Yeah, you're always
exactly.
right.
Exactly.
And here's the thing is that if it's not up to each individual one of us, who's going to do it?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like risk takers, as we talked about 2 weeks ago, is, risk takers, they get some juice out of it, but it's also like, it's all coming from a place of what could I contribute to the world to make it better?
Yep.
And, if you can get just a fraction of whatever that marketplace is, if you're in business, or to find your tribe is going to be better than not trying at all.
Absolutely.
That's
where possibilities come from, is to create something out of, like back in the day, they had just McDonald's, and then other people are like, well, we can make a fast food and we can make it with this. Then there was Taco Bell. Then there was, this, then there was that. I mean, they take the concept and made it their own. They made the possibilities. They made their franchises, Subway. I mean, just like you name them, they made the possibilities. And then they've took them from inside to drive-through.
right.
I mean, to now you have it delivered to your house. I mean, all the possibilities. A company that doesn't actually have a product, but, delegates and gets a contract. I mean, like Uber and DoorDash and these things. I mean, it's all possibilities. I mean, right. It just blows your mind.
It's possibilities to me are very 101, right? They have to start there. They have to start with like just the landscape as it is currently, but then also the what's missing, right?
Mm-hmm.
A case in point, enterprise rental car, right? Hertz was beating them up and down, like in terms of number one versus number two. And then there was another one in there, but then they decided that they're just like, you know what? We're going to take the guesswork out of the person picking up the car, and we're actually going to deliver it to them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that rocket science? No.
No.
But it's being very, very clear about most of the people that buy our cars, what's their situation. And we're going to take the guesswork out of this, right? Now, a possibility, in my opinion, is something that is created when it's not asked for. Where it's like, wow, they didn't ask for that, but it's like it's kind of like I was on a broadcast last week, and I asked the guy that was speaking about the +1 philosophy, right? And he wasn't aware of the +1 philosophy. And I said, is that whenever you run into a struggle or you need to overcome a customer problem, what do you do +1, right? And so it's like that kind of thing is already built in. Everybody in the company has the empowerment to do whatever it takes +1. There's companies that even create like a contest for the employees to see how much money they can give away, or how many free cones, or how many coffees, in the coffee shop inside the resort, right? And it's like, that is something that unless you're grounded to the customer experience, or unless you're grounded to like what's really happening or why you're here to be in business, you're going to be oblivious to what those possibilities are, because it has nothing to do with finances. Nothing.
No.
It has everything to do with innovation, creativity. I mean, our customers are always changing in terms of their demands, and like, let's say, for instance, if you were at a hotel and you were there, and I've actually shared with a resort owner some of these different things. It's like, imagine there's being a sign that says, if you're waiting for more than 5 minutes, you get a coffee on us, right? Or ma'am, you've been waiting for about 9 minutes. Here's a free voucher for a coffee in our coffee shop right there. How many times would you blow people away? But here's the difference. Not only will they come back and tell everybody that they know about you, but their expectation level goes up in terms of how they're served. That is the difference. And that starts from nothing. It starts from caring more, doing more, but examining what's there, what's missing, and how can we get better.
Absolutely.
So for the rest of our time, let's talk about get out of your own way, like methods or how we do that. Or
yeah, basically, when you start getting excuses or reasons why you can't do that, and validation of the reasons why you can't, time consuming, money, this just isn't possible, you're spending real estate, time and energy and effort, not looking at it the other way. Why should I do it? What's the purpose? What's the benefits? And when you get out of your way by saying, let me take the high road, let me take the difficult road and not the easy road, to say, yeah, scratch that idea. When you say, wait, that sounds like a great idea, but how can we do it? Reverse engineer, as we've said in the past. So getting out of your way is saying, okay, this is the plan that came up. Get out of your way and say, okay, every time a negative thought comes up, nope, this is why. And it really propels and empowers you to do, just like my book. I mean, I was like, there's just, it could be money, it could be time, it could be this and that. And I'm like, no, I'm going to do, what I can do in the time that I want. And it's just, you get out of your way. You just don't have time for the excuses. You have to make the time for how to make it possible. Grant Cardone says that over and over. And he even said, make the elaborate, exaggerate your ideas, because eventually if you practice that on a daily basis, you're going to get an idea, or you're going to you're just creating your juices just to create, and to be just outrageous. And eventually being outrageous is allowing you to just finally see, okay, so I'm not going to build a Tesla tomorrow, but maybe I'll build a little car model or something. I mean, it's just whatever, but we forget we're not that bird in the cage.
Right.
We actually are allowed to fly, be free, And as long as you know that your ideas and your thoughts,
Lynn? How'd they go again?
Fly, be free.
I just wanted to hear it again for everybody.
But seriously, when you realize that you're not dictated by anybody but your own mind, and that your self-confidence to say, I'm going to be goofy and I'm just going to go do that, blah, 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 just owning where you're at and knowing that you're changing where you plan to be. It might take you, I mean, I'm 55 years old. It's not easy to lose weight, but if it takes me 2 pounds or 1 pound a week, so freaking be it, because eventually it'll be 5 years down the road and I'm going to get there. So, I mean, it's just whatever. But if you take every day and every minute to just get out of your way in something, you're going to win so much. I mean, you're going to win so much, because the compound effect and the fact that you have a direction you're going, it absolutely gives you a place, and then you enjoy the journey along the way, because next thing you know, you've done it. I had 3 hard weeks. I finished those weeks, and now I've been getting ready. Do you have a bug bothering you over there? I keep seeing you going like this. But anyways, and today your hair does not look red today. I will say that.
You know why that is?
Yeah, because you fixed your lighting.
I did.
Yes, I was going to say, you don't look like a redhead today.
See?
You see, you moved out of your own way. Yeah. Oh, wait, you did that side move. It gave me a little red tint. But no, for the most part, you don't look red today. So
I worked on that.
That's awesome. Did you talk to JR?
I did not, but I knew you were going to ask me that.
So you see, you get out of your own way. See, I'll give this as an example. Brian could have said, well, Lynn, I don't see why you see red. And no, I don't see red, and it's not red. And I know. Instead, he did something to change so that he looks more natural. He looks more in his element. I mean, that's what I'm saying about getting out of your own way. When you get good constructive criticism and you realize that it helps you with your blind spots, and then you know better because you're going to do better. It's just an amazing thing. Instead of saying, well, Lynn, I disagree with you and I'm pissed that you said that. I'm just saying, it's like, it's so cool to really, nothing wrong with being ginger. No, you're absolutely right.
No, you're absolutely correct, Charles. But I want the truth be known.
So,
and if Helen catches the replay, she'll know I'm not ginger. So I'm going to disappoint her, but
and Jules too, because she said he's a ginger. He's a ginger. She's called you that on the show.
Well,
but again,
4th of July is coming up. I'm not a firecracker, but I can be one.
But the reason why it's important to get out of your own way is because you don't know what's possible.
Right.
If you stay stuck.
Yep.
Self-defeating yourself and self-talk and disbelief, all the belief system you had from the past. If you don't correct that, You'll never. Oh, she goes, she loves, Jules says, I love my gingers.
Yeah.
I think you still love Brian, even though he's not a ginger boy.
Yeah, sorry to reveal that, Julie. Sorry to reveal that to you, but hopefully I'm still in your high graces.
So, no, there's many reasons why. If you just get out of your way, shut up and go, you just realize, shit, that wasn't as bad as I thought. So, yeah, believe it or not, my mom was red hair and green eyes. So, and my brother was blue eyes and carrot top when he was born. Carrot top. He's got dirty blonde hair now. So yeah.
When I think of, we just have a few minutes left today, but I think that when get out of your own way, to me is that where whatever you're up to, the more you do it, the better you get, but you realize that your efforts are not about you or the outcome. Whatever you are working on has a higher goal or has a higher level of service, and you're just the instigator, if you will, right? You were just the creator, but it doesn't live and die with you. And I think that the more that you realize that that has nothing to do with you, the less hard you get on yourself, because of those people that it benefits and that it values. That's what fires you up to get it done, because of that thing that you're going to put out in the world that helps other people or makes a difference for them. That's enough for you to be like, hey, this isn't about me. I'm just the person that might have the skill or the mindset or whatever to fulfill upon this. But I think that when getting out of your own way, it's like, okay, if you're thinking about it, you're putting yourselves in the way of other people. And so when you might have the mindset and you might have the actions and the skill set to get it done. But if you're able to apply those things without getting involved, right? Where you're not getting emotional, you're just doing the work, and what it takes is that there's over time, it's less likely where you're going to have this tussling match with yourself in terms of how much am I involved in this, but how hard am I getting on myself about it? When you get out of your own way, I think it's more emotional instead of looking ahead to who is this really for, right? Why am I doing this work? Is it the better, my family, the world, people in my tribe? So I think that when you get out of your own way, I think it's more emotional, where you're looking at things logically, and the logical part is that I either get this done or I don't, and I don't make it about me, because the reason why I created this is for other people. I didn't do it for myself, because there's a very small reward to that, right? If it doesn't help others, great. It's kind of like a new car smell. It'll last for a little bit, then it's gone. But if it's for other people, no matter what it is, if it can help somebody or make a difference, I mean, heck, if you even do the work to create a family trip, right? Are all the memories that you're getting out of that trip, is that going to fulfill the time you take into it or put into it? So, but when I hear those words, get out of your own way, it's like, you remove yourself. You might be the brain trust behind it, but you get rid of any emotion or any feeling for the betterment of what the outcome is that you want.
Especially insecurities. Like, I'm a big girl. I don't like putting my booty out there, but I got to take a picture because soon that booty be gone and it'll be history. But the point is there's a lot of people out there that are chunky and are happy, and they don't allow the insecurities that they have to stop them from being who they are and doing what they want. So if there's a person that you can emulate or that has been an example to say you admire them for, you need to give back to say, you know what, get out of your own way and know that if somebody else, whether it's singing, whether it's playing a music, whether it's crafting, whatever it is, you may not think that you're good enough, but my goodness, look at art. Art is, people can look at a picture and see so many different things out of it. It may not be for most, but it'll be for somebody, and you'll get out of it. So life is just like art, I mean, make it whatever you want it to be, but get out of your own freaking way and start painting. Even if it's just a stick figure, a stick figure might be better than a kindergartner. Well, who cares?
Just based on what you said there, Lynn, and we maybe can talk about this a little bit tomorrow, but it's stop defining what it is, or stop assuming other people aren't going to like it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like when you say art, it's like, okay, are we talking watercolors? Are we talking paints? Or, you know what I mean? Like, stop not allowing people to choose.
Right. Yeah. Don't Google how many people like art. say, well, they don't like this stick figure art. Well, who knows?
Well, and here's the thing is that brings up another, and I know we got to go in a couple minutes, but that also brings up another thing is like, stop looking for validation of if other people like what you're creating.
Yeah.
Who cares? You're not going to get validation for something that's not important to them.
No.
Your possibilities are your own.
So tomorrow,
they don't have to make sense to anybody else, to you.
I'm just laughing. Tomorrow I'm about to make a beautiful stick person at the beginning of the show. Just to say I did a stick person.
Correct.
I mean, it's just.
But I mean, here's the thing: is that like, what do you think about this? And it's like in my industry, and I don't understand it, but that's another story. Is that when somebody says, "What do you think about my new business card or my new website?" Okay, why am I going to ask other people that can't reserve me anyway what they think about my website? I'm going to ask people that have reserved me and my customers.
Yeah.
Right. So why am I going to go to somebody that's never going to spend money with me anyways versus those that do and have?
Don't speak to the wrong peanut gallery. That's what you learn from there. We got to get going, but this peanut gallery had great time being with you guys. Gallery. And I don't know where the redhead guy went, but it looks really good on you, Brian. Not having the red head.
Where'd he go?
Oh, wait, the side view, that lighting over there when you turn, I'll see some red. Anyways, well, we're out of here. Hi, Sandy. Thanks for being here. We're out of here.
It looked like before we go, it looked like Sandy had a blast this weekend hanging out with friends from her Facebook photos.
And it's okay. Sandy, I will see you next week. I can't believe I'm saying next week. That is so crazy. All right, you guys, we will see you later. Love you guys. Bye.